Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. As always, if you're new to the channel, what we're doing here, we are creating the entire land of Hyrule in the art style of the Wind Waker. Of course, if you've played the Wind Waker, you know that all the islands of the Great Sea are the mountaintops of Hyrule, but we never get to fully explore that world. And so this is all about using the islands of the Great Sea, using Hyrule that we do see in the game and extrapolating from that, adding locations from other games, and bringing this world to life as you've never seen it before. I'm so excited. This is all made possible thanks to a map by Jacob Zachariah on DeviantArt. Made a map called The Lost Kingdom that totally inspired this project and really helped inform a lot of the creative decisions for this project. You see I'm using it in the background. That's where that map came from. And I'm really taking so many cues from that map, and it made this project totally possible. Here's just a little zoom in on some locations I've been working on. I did the Shadow Temple recently under Windfall Island, where Kakariko is, and here's Hyrule Castle Town. This is a new location that I've been working on, inspired by y'all's comments. I gave y'all some options about where Hyrule Castle Town will be placed on the map, and y'all chose it being suspended over the lake. It's a new kind of take on the Castle Town, and I'm excited to keep working on it. And I'm excited to keep reading more comments, ? I've been really encouraged by all y'all's ideas, and those really help inform the creative decisions that I make on this project, is seeing y'all's ideas. And I've really enjoyed how much of a community there's been growing around this project, and reading y'all's comments on YouTube. That's huge. Just seeing the ideas that y'all have and locations you want to see from other games, and what y'all think about the decisions I'm making, whether you agree or not. You know, I really welcome all kinds of feedback, criticism, ideas that you have. I love reading all that stuff, and it's really encouraging to see how much y'all care about bringing this world to life. I think that's awesome, and I've really enjoyed that. I just created a new community space. If you want more of that, I just launched a Discord, so link in the description on my bio. I'll put some links out about how to access that. I think I just posted a link on the community page of this channel as well. But yeah, I don't do Discord often, but I just launched that for this page, and it's been really cool to see a new community growing there as well, where we can share ideas and talk about the project and talk about Zelda and talk about our theories about the games. And it's cool to see. The Zelda community is just full of so much love for this franchise, and I have so much love for this franchise, and I've really enjoyed sharing that with y'all and getting to create this project with y'all. So yeah, I could keep saying that. I could get sappy, but it's all stuff you've heard before, right? I'm not saying anything new, but I want y'all to know that I appreciate y'all. It really was huge, I've been working on this project for a long time, and it took me a long time before I even posted anything about it, just because I didn't have much to show. I didn't have much to share, and it took a while to work on it. And I was inspired by it, but it's made such a difference to actually be public about it. And I'm so inspired by how inspired y'all are by it, by seeing your ideas. And that really helps motivate me to work on it. And so I think there's been a lot of growth in just what's possible with the project, just by the nature of getting y'all involved, and just seeing the fact that I've really felt that so many of y'all, it really seems like y'all care, and that makes a huge difference. And it really inspires me to keep working on the project. That's made a huge difference for I feel like what's been possible with this world. And so, yeah, it was just as soon as I was willing to make it public, and as soon as YouTube decided to start recommending the videos, it's that's totally changed my trajectory for, how much I want to do on this project. Because it's just, I love how much of how active y'all have been in watching the videos and leaving comments, and that's just been great to really share that with all of y'all. So I don't know, I could get sappy, but I won't. I will talk about the time lapse, because it's almost 5 minutes and gone by, and I'm not even talking about what we're doing. But we're working on a new location in Castle Town. We're working on a theater. So I've done an opera house before, a really regal, elegant theater, but I thought it'd be really cool to have kind of a community space in Hyrule Castle Town for plays based on Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in London, right? It's inspired by it. It's not the exact same design, but it's definitely that kind of it's a space for, maybe there's wealthy patrons, but it's really a space where anyone can show up and experience a play. And I really wanted to create a space like that in Hyrule, where, this is Hyrule Castle Town, but there's diversity there. It's not just for the royal family. It's not just for the wealthy. There's so many different kinds of people, and, you know, just creating a space where they can all appreciate art. You know, I think that's cool. And I mean, there is like the opera house, but there's also this space, which is, I feel like, is a lot more accessible, you know, where anyone can show up. And that's what I loved about the Globe, right? It was that you know, paid, what was it? Was it a penny, a nickel? And you got to see a whole play just for that. That was like what it was back in the day, right? Like, I love that idea. And that's kind of what I wanted to elicit with this theater. I wanted that to be a space for anybody. And I think that's cool. And I talked about in the last videos that what I like about the idea of this new take on Castle Town, because it is a new take, and it's an opportunity, I think, to be creative with what Castle Town can be, because it is a new design. We've never seen it in the world of the Wind Waker, and we've never really seen it designed like this. So I feel like that's an opportunity to really be creative and add new locations and show the diversity of Hyrule and show Hyrule's culture in a new way, in a way that you've never seen it before. Because like I said, like, it's cool to incorporate locations from other games and recreate things and try to be true to the way Nintendo has designed the world before. But this is a new project, and it's a new creative project, and I do feel like there's liberties I can take with the design. But also feel free to comment down below if you're just really against the look of Castle Town, because I do respect, like, if there's something where y'all are just not vibing with it, let me know. But I have really felt like there's been a lot of creativity with this project, and just because Nintendo, I feel like, allows their teams to have creativity whenever they bring Hyrule to life in a new game. You know, going from Ocarina of Time to Wind Waker, going from Ocarina of Time to Twilight Princess, to Skyward Sword, to Breath of the Wild, to Twilight Princess, even in those original games, going from Zelda 1 to A Link to the Past to Ocarina of Time. You know, even if you're going to Hyrule time after time after time and game after game after game, Hyrule looks different every time you see it. You may go back to Kakariko, but it'll look different every time you see it. You know, Zora's Domain looks different. Death Mountain looks different. The Lost Woods look different. The Temple of Time's in a different place. The castle looks different. The moat, the lake, the castle town, everything can look different in game to game. So I really do feel like there's a lot of freedom in how you can realize these locations. And I feel like that's true to the spirit of what makes Zelda great, is that, and I've talked about this before, just I think, though, what I really do love about the franchise is that it can change. And I really respect that, because there's so many media franchises out there that feel so glued to the past. And Zelda, like, has a lot of tradition associated with it. But I really feel like it's had such a good balance of respecting what's come before, but also innovating and iterating in new ways. And I felt that really with every game that it's made. In some way, it balances both, you know, and I feel like I've made a decision that I'm still, like, not really talking about Tears of the Kingdom on this channel yet, just because I know a lot of people are still experiencing the game. I'm still experiencing the game. There's things I haven't beaten yet, but I do think it's a really good example of, like, in so many ways, it feels like a love letter to the franchise, but it also does so many things that we've never seen before. That's how I felt about Wind Waker as well. I feel like Wind Waker is a love letter to Ocarina of Time, but it's also not afraid to go in new directions. So I really feel like that's what I love about Zelda. And I've said all this before, but I mean it. I say it. Oh, excuse me. I say it because I mean it. I love Zelda. And I just feel like there's so many franchises that could learn from that spirit. And how do you balance that? Because there's a lot of franchises in media that are long running. And I mean, we see that, I think, in film, because I mean, so much of our film industry right now, especially in Hollywood, comes from just like producers that don't want to take risks. And they'd rather say, well, this is a franchise that is safe. This is a franchise we can bank on. Let's just keep doing stuff in it. Let's keep the MCU running. You know, let's make, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing to have franchises. I'm just saying that there's not a lot of risk taken in the industry, and that they'd rather default on the decisions they've already made than try to make something new. And I think Zelda is interesting because it's a long-running franchise, but they're also always willing to do new things with it. I think that's something I love about Star Wars as well, in general. I mean, obviously not every Star Wars project is creative, and some of them have really suffered in creativity. But as a whole, like, year after year after year, we've gotten some really creative Star Wars projects. where, you know, I mean, they're still continuing this franchise, they're still continuing this legacy. But I mean, something like Andor that came out last year, Andor is a masterpiece in my opinion. I mean, I know I'm talking about Star Wars on a Zelda channel, but just as an example, I feel like Star Wars and Zelda, like being IPs originally started in the 80s that have continued, I feel like they're both good examples of franchises that have been willing to be unique over time. And I feel like Star Wars has done the same thing at its best. You know, there's the original trilogy, and it really set the standard in so many ways. But the Star Wars prequels come out, and I feel like you could, I don't know, maybe this is just like, I see this because this all happened when I was a kid, and it left an impression on me. But I do feel like philosophically, the Star Wars prequels are kind of parallel to Wind Waker as a creative decision, in the same way that the Wind Waker is willing to be a love letter and honor all the things that Zelda has been about. The Star Wars prequels, I feel like, do the same thing, that it's totally complementary to the original movies, and yet they also do so many things that were new, and they move the industry forward in new ways. And I feel like Zelda has been similar in the same way that Star Wars moves the film industry forward technically with every big Star Wars project. You know, Zelda has been a huge force in the gaming industry for technical innovation. So I don't know. I really feel like there's a lot of comparisons just in the way that Star Wars and Zelda are developed and the way that they exist in the development space of film and video games. Maybe I'm not saying much that's new there, but I've seen other people talk about this online with comparing the development of that. And even like people talk about the Zelda cycle and how like a Zelda game will come out and get a lot of criticism, but then fans will love it over time, and how that process is very much true for Star Wars. And, you know, like the prequels may be controversial, but 10 years later they have a cult following and people are in love with them. And it's that cycle. And I definitely think there are fair comparisons to make there. But comment down below if you think I'm off base. I don't know. Maybe I'm not really saying anything new or deep. I'm not going to hedge it. I was lampshading. I believe that. I think it is deep. I'm not going to make excuses. I was listing myself. I'm going, you know, me making hedging statements about like, oh, maybe it's not that deep. It is that deep. I think I have something to say, and I'm going to say it. But I don't know. I'm just rambling. I'm watching this time lapse. I don't know if there's anything new I have to say about the actual model that we're watching, but I am really proud of how this location turned out. And I really think it's really cool to have locations like these where we're bringing culture to Hyrule and, you know, creating spaces where you can really imagine Hyrule as a real lived-in space. I really like the idea of doing more stuff like that. So feel free to comment down below any locations that you want to see in Hyrule or Castle Town in particular that you want to see me work on and add to that new city. Feel free to comment down below. I'd love to see all his ideas. I do think I'm going to start wrapping up, giving the ending spiel now that I think we are approaching the end of the time lapse. I could keep rambling for hours about all this stuff, but I should talk about Zelda more. But anyway, feel free to comment down below any ideas. Just, you know, like I said, if you want to support me, there's a couple ways that you can do that. I just launched a Patreon. I'd love to see y'all there. Becoming a member on Patreon gives you exclusive access to all kinds of bonus content. I also, you know, I'm a filmmaker, and you can subscribe to my main channel on YouTube for more filmmaking stuff. But on Patreon, you get all kinds of exclusive early access to music that I'm composing, to scripts that I'm writing, to rough cuts of films that I'm making, all kinds of stuff that is exclusive to Patreon. And like I said with music, I compose my own music. Any music you've heard in the background of this video was my music. And you can support me by listening to my music on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music. Look up Joe Kendrick on Spotify. That's JoeKendrick. Listen to Joe Kendrick on Spotify. That's my spiel. There's our before and after. And here is the final render, just giving you a look at what is kind of like the Globe Theater in Hyrule. This is, you know, we are bringing Shakespeare to Hyrule. Dadgummit. I could have ranted more about Shakespeare in this video. I love Shakespeare. And maybe that says a lot about who I am. But that's maybe a video for another time. All this to say, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And cut. I don't know how to end these, but yeah, I'll let you go.